seated.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt on the radio, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and on talklawradio.com. If you're watching live on Facebook right now, you can post a question in the comments area, and I should be able to see it during the show. If you have questions about how to hire a criminal defense attorney, how to stay out of trouble, how to stay safe during Fiesta. The reason I wanted to have you guys on the show is because it's Fiesta, and with Fiesta, there's a lot of drinking of alcohol, and people's judgment gets impaired, and they get in trouble. And so we want to let people know ahead of time, before they go downtown, what are some things that they should do to stay out of trouble. What do you see are some of the most troubling things that people get in trouble for?
Well, obviously during Fiesta, everybody's out to have a good time, right? And sometimes along with that comes imbibing in alcohol, okay? We're fortunate nowadays in that we have apps like Uber and Lyft. And so if you know that you're going to be out, you're going to be having a good time, and you're going to be drinking, there's nothing wrong with that. But you don't want to put yourself and others in a dangerous situation by getting behind the wheel of a vehicle when you're intoxicated. Now, here's the thing. People aren't very good judges of whether or not they are intoxicated, right? You can get somebody who says, hey, I feel fine. I always drink this much. But that's not how we define intoxication under the law. It's the loss of physical or mental faculties due to the ingestion of some substance, usually alcohol, right? So people shouldn't use themselves as the barometer of, hey, I'm intoxicated. Mm-hmm. If you're drinking at all, you should, try to utilize Lyft or Uber or have somebody drive you around. That way you can avoid that situation with the DWI.
Also, there's not going to be much parking.
Right.
And they're going to close some of the streets.
Yeah, that's what, not to mention the fact that it's just more convenient. Now, you do have to be careful of the surge prices during Fiesta, because the prices do surge up, but it's way less expensive than paying an attorney to cover your DWI.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I have a question about that. San Antonio Police Chief William McManus said last year San Antonio Police Department arrested 139 people for DWI during Fiesta. What are the consequences for DWI? Why should people get a designated driver?
Well, so it's going to cost a lot of money. Okay, first of all, you're going to get your license suspended. It depends on whether you agree to blow or not blow, but either way, you're going to get your license suspended at some point, which means you're going to have to get an occupational driver's license, which costs money. Now the legislature has passed these super fines for DWIs, so you have to pay $2,000 to $3,000 in super fines, not to mention the court costs and the fine you have to pay if you get probation. Not to mention your attorney's fees. I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, I saw a billboard that said something like a DWI costs you something like $10,000.
I've seen that, yeah.
And that's probably it's probably not less.
Okay.
So spend $70 for an Uber,
right?
Or spend $10,000 for the consequences of picking up a DWI. Not to mention, what if you're in that horrible situation where you're driving intoxicated and you kill somebody? Now your life's never going to be the same.
Right.
Okay. Even if you go the wrong way because you're confused, and you can go the wrong way downtown in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And you hit somebody on the head on and you don't kill them, but you injure them, your life's never going to be the same. Well, why take those risks?
Stephen, there used to be an old saying, don't blow, don't dance, meaning don't consent to a field sobriety test. What are some myths about drinking, driving, and somehow avoiding the DWI conviction?
Well, so it used to be the case that we didn't have these blood draws that they do nowadays. And so a lot of times if you refuse to blow into that intoxilizer, the only thing that they could use to try to prove that you were intoxicated was either the officer's testimony about how you appeared during the time of the stop, or, after the advent of the dash cam, maybe the video from the dash cam, right? But nowadays here in Bexar County, they can get that blood draw warrant very easily and draw your blood, right? And so we always used to give the advice, hey, don't blow, don't cooperate. Nowadays, you really don't have that choice, okay? So that, I would say that is a myth. The whole idea is, well, if you don't blow, they can't really prosecute you. No, they will, and they'll get that blood draw warrant, and they'll get that report back from the lab, and you'll be prosecuted.
And it's harder as a defense attorney to go up against a blood result because everybody believes in the blood results versus a lot of people are skeptical of the intoxilizer, those breath blows.
Right.
So I think if I'm sitting there in trial, I'd rather be going up against a blow than a blood draw.
Okay, because of the science behind it.
Exactly right.
All right. Well, there's some other things that could happen at Fiesta when you're down having a good time with your friends, and that could be drug possession. So I have heard that some people nowadays smoke a vape device with marijuana oil. Is that legal? What are the consequences of getting caught with that?
Well, so what people don't realize, so if you have marijuana on you, it's a misdemeanor. Those vape pens with THC oil, that's a felony. Okay, and so I'm not saying I agree with how the legislature characterizes that. It's just, but people don't realize, first of all, most people don't know what the heck is in that vape pen. Right? And so they don't realize there's THC oil in there. And those who do, they think it's legal because there's confusion out there in the community about, well, CBD oil versus THC.
Right.
And so they have no idea that by carrying that vape pen and driving around and getting pulled over, say you get pulled over for or say you're walking around and acting the fool down at NIOSA,
yeah,
and they stop you for public intoxication, and now you got a vape pen. Public intoxication is a ticket. It's up to a $500 fine. That's it. But now I have a vape pen in my pocket with THC. Now I'm looking at a state jail felony or a third-degree felony, 2 to 10 years.
And a felony is life-changing.
Yes.
A felony can affect your ability to maintain your occupation, to get promotions at work, to maintain a professional license of some sort. So a lot of people, they're buying these vape pens at the vape shop, and they don't know that they're setting themselves up for a life-changing event if they get caught with that vape pen.
Yeah. Well, that's why we talk about it here, to let the people know that this is a hidden legal issue blind spot. Okay, Stephen, I've noticed from watching the Cops TV show that people don't like to be searched by police. When is a police officer justified in searching someone's pockets, purse, or backpack?
Sure. So when an officer has an encounter with you, they have to have some indication that maybe there's something wrong. You're committing some kind of an offense, whatever the case may be. During this encounter that they have with you, they have a right to pat you down for their own safety, to see whether you have a gun, to see whether you have some kind of weapon. During that pat down, it's possible that they find contraband. Now, if they have reason to believe and they have some information that a crime may be committed, at that point they can do a more thorough search, kind of a probable cause search, where they can go through your possessions and go through your items. And that's where a lot of people end up getting in trouble, right? Like Scott mentioned, you're walking around downtown, you're stumbling, so they start talking to you, maybe investigating that public intoxication, but you have some contraband in your pocket. You have the vape pen, you have the little baggie of cocaine, whatever the case may be. Well, now
Not me.
Not you. This hypothetical. But now, by committing that Class C misdemeanor ticket offense, you've allowed that officer to perform a search that's going to get you in trouble for a much more serious offense.
Okay, and how about those people that, because of their intoxication, get upset that they're being bothered by the police? Are there situations where something can go from bad to worse?
Yeah, and so if you feel like the search isn't justified, you still have to comply with the police then. we'll be able to get, if the search isn't justified, we'll be able to deal with that in court. But the police officer isn't going to take your opinion as to whether the search is justified or not. And then it's going to escalate to a resisting. They're going to do what they're going to do. If it's unlawful, we'll take care of it. Call us up and we'll deal with it. Okay. But don't sit there and think that you're going to keep that police officer from doing what he thinks he's justified in doing. That's not going to work out well for you. And if it rises to the level that it goes from resisting to assault on a public servant, now another 3rd-degree felony, looking at 2 to 10.
And so where does it cross the line to assault? Are you just not supposed to touch the officer, or? So an assault has to be,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
With using causes bodily injury. So if I'm just pulling away from the officer or I push the officer, that's a resisting. Don't do that. I'm responding to your question. But once if he's trying to control me and I kick at him or swing at him and connect, that's going to be an assault on a peace officer.
And even a threat. If you're making some kind of threat against that officer, like, hey, if I ever see you out in the street, or I'm going to find you, or that's a felony.
That's a 2nd degree. That's retaliation.
Really?
Yeah. And so that makes it worse. And we do get those cases. Now, some officers use their discretion. This happens frequently when somebody's getting taken downtown and they're drunk and they're saying all kinds of crazy stuff in the back of the vehicle, like I'm going to get you when I get out. Some officers just let it go. Other officers will take their opportunity to file a 2nd-degree retaliation charge on that person.
Wow.
That's serious stuff.
Okay, well, I'm not sure who to direct this question to, Scott Simpson or Stephen Barrera, but some time ago there was a big push to decriminalize small amounts of marijuana. What is the current law about possession of marijuana? What are the consequences of having it?
Well, Scott's prosecuted these cases most recently, so he's probably best to address this.
Well, so the law in Texas is it's all illegal, okay? And there was a time where there was some movement afoot between the far left and the far right combined together to try to legalize it, and we thought that maybe there was going to be some movement. But right now in the legislative session, I'm being told that they're moving the opposite direction. They're making hemp illegal to eliminate the question about whether this is really THC or not. So for the community out there, marijuana is just illegal in the state of Texas.
Marijuana's bad, okay?
Any type of marijuana, if you're thinking that, I don't know how some of these CBD shops are operating, and I think the legislature is trying to move to make it illegal for them too. But we'll see. The session is in right now. But marijuana is just not legal in the state of Texas. And it's going to be that way for the foreseeable future.
And you've had some municipalities that have decriminalized it or attempted to do that, right? Like Austin, San Marcos. But I just saw on the news where even that is no longer going to be allowed. You're not going to be allowed to have these local municipalities who say, hey, we're just not going to enforce this law.
Yeah.
If we catch somebody with a minor amount, we're not going to prosecute them. They're not allowed to do that anymore.
Right, because the governor wanted to pass a law that said
He can remove the DA.
Can't go against the state law.
That's it, right? You had some prosecutors that were saying, "Hey, I recognize this is a law, but I'm not going to prosecute it." Well, the governor said, "No, you're not allowed to do that." So don't assume that just because you're in an area where, like in Austin or a San Marcos or what have you, that it's okay to carry a minor amount of marijuana. It's not. You're going to be prosecuted, and it's going to be a problem.
Okay, well, we're going to have to take another break. I've been talking with Scott Simpson and Stephen Barrera, both of BRIC Criminal Defense here in San Antonio and surrounding areas. And we're talking about how to stay out of trouble in Fiesta San Antonio 2025. When we come back, we'll talk about other problems that people run into when they're downtown drinking and having a good time, when they accidentally cross over from doing something fun into doing something wrong and getting in trouble with the police. Stay tuned, don't miss it. Be right back.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Each week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the 10 Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.